February 1921, Sakai City, Osaka, Japan. Shozaburo. Shimano rented a 40 square meter room on the site of a demolished celluloid factory. His monthly rent was 5 yen. His only machine was a single lathe, 1.8 meters long, borrowed from a friend. He was 26 years old. In 2024, the company that Lathe built recorded $2.87 billion in revenue. Fishing tackle alone represented 23.3% of total sales. That fishing business did not exist. When Shimano was founded, it had to be built, and before it could be built, Shimano had to conquer an entirely different market first. Sakai was not a random choice. The city was a legendary blacksmithing centre, historically known for its swords and gun barrels. Metalwork was not an industry in Sakai. It was a culture. Shozaburo had apprenticed at an ironworks after finishing school, rather than follow his father into farming. He arrived at his 40 square meter workshop with trained hands and one clear goal. In his second year, he made his first freewheel. He chose the freewheel because its production was particularly challenging, even in Sakai, and because product quality needed radical improvements. Freewheels made in Japan at that time were far inferior to imports in terms of strength, accuracy, and appearance. Many of the freewheels on Japanese bicycles were foreign-made. Shozaburo fixed that. By 1930, Shimano was producing 30,000 single-speed freewheels per year. To establish a reputation for quality, he offered 2 free replacements for every product that failed. The policy worked. Shimano refused to produce complete bicycles. As one of Shozaburo's sons later said, "Our founder said, never ever compete with a customer. Shimano would make the parts, someone else would build the bike." That rule held for a century, and it is exactly why Shimano eventually made fishing reels. In 1957, Shimano's engineers attended a trade fair. A West German company was demonstrating cold forging, a technique that shaped a metal using compressive force at room temperature, without cutting or removing material. The Shimano engineers watched, and then they went back to Sakai and spent 5 years figuring out how to do it themselves. Shimano applied cold forging in actual production starting in 1962, making it one of the pioneers of the technique in Japan. The process cuts alloy blocks into blanks, then stamps them into their final shape under enormous pressure. The largest machines Shimano built produce up to 2,000 tons of force. The result was a part that was simultaneously lighter, stronger, and more precise than anything produced through conventional machining. Every bicycle component Shimano made from that point forward was built on that foundation. So was every fishing reel that came after. By the early 1960s, Shimano was ready to take the next step. In 1961, Shimano displayed a 3-speed bicycle hub at the New York Toy Show. The popularity of 20-inch wheeled bikes with high-rise handlebars had created demand for multi-speed hubs, and Shimano was producing an affordable and reliable version that caught the attention of the American industry. The timing was not accidental. Shimano had been watching the American bicycle market closely, and what it saw was an opening. By 1965, Shimano opened its first overseas sales office in New York City. The main purpose was to get quicker product feedback and to provide technical and warranty assistance to retailers selling bikes equipped with Shimano parts. The first office was staffed by 3 people. 3 people. That was the entire American operation. Shimano American Corporation was formally set up in January 1965. It was a bicycle parts distributor. Fishing was not part of the plan yet, but the infrastructure Shimano built in those years, the distribution relationships, the retailer contacts, and the product feedback loops became the exact same infrastructure it would later use to sell fishing reels to American anglers. The American bicycle market rewarded Shimano's investment quickly. When the 1970s United States bike boom exceeded the capacity of European bicycle component manufacturers, Japanese manufacturers, including Shimano, rapidly stepped in to fill the void. In the 1980s, with Shimano pushing technical innovation and lower prices, the more traditional European component manufacturers lost significant market presence. Shimano did not win by being cheaper, it won by being better and cheaper at the same time, which is a combination that established manufacturers almost never see coming until it is too late. In 1970, Shimano made a decision that had nothing to do with bicycles. Shimano launched into the fishing tackle business. The decision was made because fishing would contribute to people's health and continue to be enjoyed into the future, and because Shimano's existing manufacturing technologies could be directly applied. The logic was straightforward. A fishing reel is a precision gear mechanism inside a metal housing. Shimano had been making precision gear mechanisms inside metal housings for nearly 50 years. The product category was different. The manufacturing problem was almost identical. The fishing tackle division was launched as a second business pillar, aligned with the corporate vision of contributing to public health by encouraging outdoor activities. Fishing tackle was added to Shimano American Corporation's product offerings in 1970. From the first day the division existed, the American market was already in the plan. In 1971, Shimano released the Duck spinning reel by harnessing technologies refined in the manufacture of bicycle components, such as gears and body structures. The Ducks was not aimed at American anglers, it was aimed at Japan. Shimano needed to learn how to make reels before it could compete in the most demanding fishing market in the world. In 1972, Shimano released the Ducks Auto. It featured an automatic shifting mechanism whose gear ratio changed automatically depending on the load during winding. It attracted considerable attention for its stainless steel bearings and compact size. Shimano was learning fast, but learning in Japan was not enough. To compete in America, Shimano needed to understand American anglers specifically, what they fished for, how they fished, and what made them buy one reel over another. The answer came through a man named Lew Childre. Lew Childre was a South Alabama entrepreneur. In 1973, he introduced the speed spool bait casting reel to the American market. The reel was manufactured in its earliest years by Shimano. Childre's original interest in Japan, grown bamboo for his fishing rods, had taken him to Japan, where he ultimately teamed with Shimano. The speed spool was unlike anything American bass fishermen had used before. Lew Childre and his speed spool are credited with introducing the low-profile baitcast reel shape, a smooth palming side cover with no knobs for user comfort, and the disengaging level wind. These were not incremental improvements. They were a complete rethinking of what a baitcasting reel could be. American bass anglers responded immediately. The speed spool sold, and while it sold, Shimano watched everything, which features anglers praised, which they complained about, how the reel held up in the field, and what they wished it could do that it could not. Shimano was not just a manufacturer on this project, it was a student. The partnership did not last. Childre did not live to see his Lew's products skyrocket in popularity during the bass craze of the late 1970s and into the 1980s. He died in 1977 when a plane he was piloting crashed, and that event led Shimano to enter the American market with its own line of reels. In effect, Childre's death marked the beginning of the ascension of Japanese fishing tackle companies. Childre's death ended the manufacturing relationship, but it did not end what Shimano had learned. Every insight gathered during those years, building the speed spool, went directly into the reel Shimano was already developing on its own. Shimano dispatched engineers to the United States to conduct a field survey for approximately 1 year. The survey found that users needed a more lightweight, compact, and precise reel. Shimano thoroughly reviewed the structure of its prior products, seeking a simpler but stronger design. The development concept focused on user-friendliness, joy, and presence. 1 year, Shimano sent engineers to America not to sell anything, but to listen. They watched bass fishermen cast. They asked what frustrated them about existing reels. They measured what mattered, and they came back to Sakai with a precise set of requirements. Then they built the Bantam 100. In 1978, Shimano launched the Bantam 100 at the American Fishing Tackle Manufacturers Association show, known today as ICAST. The reel was released for sale later that year, with delivery in early 1979. The Bantam 100 could handle 6-pound line, something no comparable reel of that size had previously achieved. It quickly became the lightest reel on the market. Those two facts mattered enormously to bass fishermen in the western United States, where light line fishing was standard practice. A lighter reel reduced fatigue over a full day of casting. A reel that could handle 6-pound line without the line slipping behind the spool opened up techniques that heavier reels made impossible. Shimano focused its advertising on the reel as small and light, yet capable of catching the biggest fish from the nastiest cover. They ran a series of ads showing anglers battling sharks, tarpon, and other saltwater fish. The campaign worked, and Bantam 100s were soon selling all over the nation. The advertising strategy was deliberate. Shimano knew that American anglers, particularly bass fishermen, were aspirational buyers who wanted gear that could handle anything. Showing a compact, lightweight reel fighting a shark in open water told that story without a single word of explanation. The impact on the industry was immediate. It was rumoured that fishing tackle manufacturers around the world were copying the Bantam design. Shimano's reputation in the baitcasting reel market was boosted, and for export, Shimano changed its mode of shipment from sea freight to air freight to meet demand. That detail is easy to overlook. It means demand was so high and moving so fast that waiting weeks for a ship was no longer acceptable. Shimano was air freighting fishing reels across the Pacific to keep American tackle shops stocked. The Bantam 100 did not just sell well, it proved something. It proved that American anglers would choose a Japanese reel over an American or European one if the Japanese reel was better. It also proved that Shimano, a company that had spent its entire existence making bicycle parts, could walk into the most competitive fishing tackle market in the world and win on its first serious attempt. The Bantam was just the beginning. The Bantam 100 opened the door. What Shimano built next kept it open permanently. To understand why Shimano's fishing reels became the global standard, it helps to understand exactly what they are made of and how they are made. The answer starts not in a fishing tackle factory, but on a bicycle component production line in Sakai City. Cold forging shapes metal using compressive force, transforming the original material into a near-final shape. The technique achieves high rigidity while reducing overall weight, making it ideal for producing strong and lightweight parts for both bicycles and fishing tackle. Cold forging is the key. Every gear inside a Shimano reel is produced this way. The Hagane gear is produced by applying approximately 200 tons of pressure to raw metal. The technology involves no cutting work. It forges a high-precision gear with micron-level accuracy in a single process. The gear teeth are ultra-refined, enabling seamless engagement and power transmission, reducing noise while improving the sensitivity felt in the angler's hand. Hagane matters. Micron-level accuracy means the tolerance, the allowable difference between the design size and the actual size, is smaller than a single human hair. In a fishing reel, that level of precision translates directly into what anglers describe as smoothness. When a Shimano reel feels different from a competitor's reel, that difference is not marketing, it is geometry. Precision cold forging preserves the metal flows of the metallographic structure, the gear with its metal structure intact. Along the processed shape is highly resistant to impact. The surfaces of a Hagane gear have virtually no irregularities. Even after repeated use over multiple fishing seasons, The gear generates minimal noise and continues to reel smoothly. Precision endures. No American fishing reel manufacturer in the 1970s or the 1980s had developed this level of gear production. They were making good reels. Shimano was solving the manufacturing problem at a level the competition had not reached yet. Shimano had an engineering advantage. By the late 1970s, Shimano was not just selling reels in America, it was building the infrastructure to stay. The Bantam series was introduced in 1978, followed by X-Line rods in 1981. Annual sales exceeded 50 billion yen in the mid-1980s. Annual sales reached new heights. 50 billion yen. In the mid-1980s, that translated to roughly $250 million. Shimano was no longer a curiosity in the American fishing market. It was a major commercial force. The product line expanded systematically. The first American market, Shimano spinning reel, arrived in 1983. It was called the BBX reel. It was a plastic-bodied, lightweight freshwater fishing reel. BBX opened a different market. The BBX was aimed at a different angler than the Bantam 100. The Bantam targeted experienced bass fishermen who wanted the best bait casting reel on the market. The BBX targeted the broader freshwater market, the angler who fished lakes and rivers for trout, bass and walleye with a spinning rod. Shimano was not chasing one customer. It was building a product ladder that covered every type of American freshwater fishing. In 1984, Shimano created the Shimano Japan Cup. It was a fishing competition designed to promote the enjoyment of fishing. That same year, Shimano expanded into Canada. Japan Cup became part of the strategy. The Japan Cup was a deliberate cultural move. Shimano understood that fishing tackle is not a purely rational purchase. Anglers are passionate. They follow tournaments. They watch what the best fishermen use and then buy the same gear. By creating and sponsoring competitions, Shimano embedded its brand into the culture of fishing, not just into tackle shops. In 1988, Shimano set up a UK subsidiary focused on fishing tackle sales. That same year, Shimano shifted some of its fishing reel production to Singapore. Moving production to Singapore was a cost and logistics decision. The rise of the Japanese yen in the late 1980s made manufacturing in Japan increasingly expensive for export markets. Singapore offered lower production costs without sacrificing the quality controls Shimano required. The reels that reached American tackle shops were still Shimano reels. They were simply assembled on a different side of the world. Meanwhile, the materials science inside Shimano's reels was accelerating. By the mid-1980s, Shimano recognized the need for stiffer and lighter reel construction. In 1985, the Titano series arrived. It used a composite construction combining titanium fiber, carbon fiber, and resin materials. Titanium fiber, carbon fiber, resin. In 1985, those materials were associated with aerospace and Formula One racing. Shimano was putting them into fishing reels. The Titano series was aimed at the Japanese market first, but the technology it demonstrated, that a fishing reel body could be built from advanced composite materials, set the direction for everything that followed. Then came the Stella. Shimano developed the SBL, the Shimano Balance Lock, to significantly reduce handle shake during rotation. Such shaking had been accepted as the norm for a spinning reel. Since its sensational debut in 1992, the Stella has enjoyed overwhelming support from users around the world. The amazingly smooth reeling feel could be experienced the moment an angler picked it up. Handle shake had been a known problem with spinning reels for decades. Every manufacturer lived with it. Shimano decided to solve it. The SBL system counterbalanced the rotating rotor so precisely that the vibration anglers had always attributed to the nature of spinning reels simply disappeared. To eliminate rotation noise, Shimano used a metal housing with high rigidity and precision. the manufacture of those housings was outsourced to a camera parts manufacturer to attain precision equivalent to that of precision electronic devices. These efforts led to the release of the Stella in 1992, a camera parts manufacturer. Shimano went outside the fishing industry entirely to find a factory capable of machining metal to the tolerances the Stella required. That decision tells the entire story of how Shimano approached product development. If no fishing tackle supplier could meet the specification, Shimano found someone who could. The first Stella model was exhibited at the Tokyo International Fishing Show. The product was suspended using a single line and attracted great attention. The reel was free from shaking during handle rotation and offered a light and smooth feel that visitors had never experienced in a spinning reel before. The 1995 model was equipped with the SHIP system, smooth and high power, which dramatically increased gear reeling performance. Each successive generation did not simply refine the previous model. It introduced a new technology that made the previous generation feel outdated. The Stella SWC, the current top-of-the-line saltwater Stella, retails between $950 and $1,350. A fishing reel that costs $1,350. That price is not an accident, and it is not simply a luxury markup. It reflects the cost of the manufacturing tolerances, the materials, and the engineering that goes into each unit. It also reflects what serious anglers, guides, charter captains, and tournament competitors are willing to pay when they need equipment that will not fail them. By 2012, Shimano introduced the micromodule gear system. It featured precisely shaped gear teeth designed to deliver smooth reeling and excellent power transmission. The micromodule system increased the number of contact points between the drive gear and the pinion gear. More contact points means more even load distribution, which means less wear, less noise, and a smoother feel across the entire retrieve. It was the same logic Shimano had applied to bicycle drivetrains for decades, and it worked in a fishing reel for exactly the same reasons. The scale of what Shimano built across those decades is measurable in precise numbers. In 2024, Shimano recorded total revenue of $2.87 billion. Fishing tackle represented 23.3% of that total. 23.3% of $2.87 billion is approximately $669 million. That is the annual revenue of the fishing division alone, a division that did not exist before 1970, built by a company that had never made a fishing reel before the Ducks in 1971. Shimano maintains a prominent position in the global fishing tackle industry, particularly as a leading brand in spinning reels, competing closely with Daiwa and Abu Garcia. Together, these top three companies command over 55% of global market share. North America's fishing reels market dominated the global market with a revenue share of 60.3% in 2024. The United States held the largest revenue share within that region. The United States is the single largest fishing reel market in the world. Shimano, a company founded in Japan to make bicycle parts, is one of the dominant forces in that market. The resolution is not complicated. In the first quarter of 2026, Shimano's fishing division reported an 18.5% increase in sales compared to the prior year. The company cited firm interest in fishing tackle, appropriate inventory levels, and robust demand for high-priced products, particularly in China and Europe. Shimano started with one borrowed lathe, one product, and a 40 square meter room. It conquered the American bicycle market before most American cyclists knew the brand existed. It entered fishing with no history in the sport and turned a one-year field survey into a reel that air freighted itself across the Pacific because demand outpaced ships. It solved the problems that every other manufacturer had accepted as permanent, and it priced the solution at whatever the engineering required. If you found this story as fascinating as we did, please like the video and subscribe. It helps us tell more stories like this one.